Hey coaches, I'm here today because I want to talk to you about why I like the I formation. And I believe if you don't already have this in your offense, you should think about maybe putting it in or try to think of a way to add it into your offense somehow. So some of the points I'm going to talk about today is that I believe it's easy to add into any offense. It doesn't matter if you're running a pro style, traditional wing tee, spread. It doesn't matter what you're running. I think personally that you could add something with the I formation into your offense very easily. It's versatile or versatile, however you want to say that, meaning you could do almost anything you can think of out of the I formation. If you like having three receiver sets, throwing the ball around, you can do that. If you like having double tight and running up the gut, you can do that. I've seen some people will take a second string big boy off of their defensive line, put him at fullback, and just plow up the middle. You can do that. The play action game is deadly in the I formation offense. And then I also wanted to talk about what I call the Packer formation, which is something that I came up with one day. I'm sure I probably stole the idea or was influenced by somebody else. But this was something that I was trying to think of to add into maybe a spread system as a changeup. And I'll show you because it uses my personal favorite play in all of football, which is the wedge play. First, I want to talk about how I believe it's easy to add. Now, this formation here, let me get on the other side. You can call this strong right, I right, whatever you want to call it. This is, or pro right, this is a very common way to use the I formation. So you got your tight end on the right side. For the receivers, I just made it simple stupid, and I said left and right receiver. I stole that off another coach on YouTube. And then you have your quarterback, fullback, and tailback. Now you could do with the fullback, he could either be in a traditional three-point stance like most fullbacks are, or you could do, if you ever watched the Cowboys play in their I formation, they have both the fullback and the tailback stand back about a yard deeper than they normally you would be, and they're both hands and knees, two-point stance, ready to go. It all depends on what you want to do. You could take away a receiver, go double tight, okay? Really easy, really cool stuff you could do with this. You could move the fullback out and do what a lot of, sorry, you can't really see the quarterback here. Do what a lot of college offenses are doing now with the pistol. And in my opinion, it's still using I formation techniques. It's still using those principles, just from a different alignment. It looks different. It looks like spread. It is spread, but it's also I formation at the same time. You're not really changing up a whole lot. And if this is what you got to do to convince a coach or your players to get into this, then maybe it's something you got to do. But I want to talk about traditional I formation football. Now, when I say versatile, one day on Twitter, I didn't ask this question, but I noticed another coach asked a question. By the way, if you're not on Twitter and you're a football coach, you need to get on that now. Best resource ever. Coaches are totally upfront with everybody, helping everybody. It's the best resource I've found so far. And it's free. Okay. Somebody asked, as a defensive coordinator, what is the most difficult offense to defend? What's the most difficult offense to prepare for? And sorry, spread guys, 90% of the answers had nothing to do with the spread or the shotgun, zone read or anything of that nature. Inside zone, none of that. The majority of people at the high school level, they were talking about three offenses that were the most difficult to prepare for. Triple option, wing T, and double tight I formation. or just double tight formations. And the reason because that is because technically speaking, you are creating within that box 8 potential running gaps that you could hit, that you could attack on both sides, especially if you're running a double tight. Within that box, you could potentially hit 8 different gaps. Okay, you could do the same thing with a wing T or a triple option if you wanted to, but I wanted to talk about the I formation because it's more commonplace out there, especially at the college or the pro level. You could go with the A gap, front side, weak side. You can go any side. Doesn't matter what. You could flip the receiver on different sides. It doesn't matter. You could hit any gap. And I'm just talking about the run game here. I'm not talking about the passing game. Passing game is totally different. The run game's wide open. Okay, and some of you spread guys might be saying, okay, coach, that's all good and everything, but in the spread, we create or we widen out those gaps and give a little bit of space for your running back. Yes, but in my opinion, in my personal opinion, you can disagree with me if you want, I think that the run game in the spread offense, or in any spread offense, depending on what you're going with, is extremely limited. And especially if you're going with an up-tempo, hurry-up offense. Many people go with some version of the inside zone, which is fine. It's a great play. RPOs, stuff like that. I love it. I love everything about offense. I just think it's limited with what you can do. And a lot of times I've heard defensive coordinators say, I love facing those offenses because it's just simple. We know what they're going to hit us with. They're not coming up with anything complicated. Okay. In the I formation, I'm not saying it's complicated. I'm not saying it's not simple. On the offensive side, it is. It's a little bit more difficult as a defender to try and cover all of those gaps that they could potentially hit on every play. Okay. So that's, in my opinion, it's so versatile. You can do so much with it. Okay. You could throw out of it. You could do play action out of it. You can do a whole lot out of it. Now, what I call Packer, okay, and this was, I came up with this because we got a new coach. Our high school hasn't been doing so hot in the last few years, and we got a new coach. The old coach retired, and when I was meeting with him, I got the feeling that he wanted to go with more of a spread offense, which is fine. I personally don't have a lot of experience coaching a spread offense. I'm not necessarily as comfortable with it as I would be a wing T, which is my favorite offense, or an I formation. But I decided, hey, I'm going to support this new coach however I can, try to help him, make him better. And unfortunately, it didn't work out with coaching this season. My wife and I had our first child, and I really decided that, plus I was teaching a new subject, and I needed all the extra time I could. I decided not to coach this season, and I miss it. I really miss it. I really hope I get to coach next season. But I came up with this Packer formation, and I came up with it as a kind of a change-up to just normal shotgun spread. And it's mainly, if you can see it, it's double tight I formation with a receiver either on the right or the left, doesn't matter. And what I wanted to focus on, my personal favorite play is the wedge play. And if you're not familiar with the wedge play, what you're going to do with the wedge play on the offensive line, let's say there's a nose guard here, head up with the center. What you're going to do, you're going to tell your O-line, everybody's going for that guy. And you're creating this wedge in the defense. And you can get tight ends involved too. My personal opinion, I like to have the tight ends either cut somebody on the edge or go out for a pattern. So in this particular formation, a lot of coaches will run wedge with the quarterback, which is fine. Personally, I like to have the fullback run the wedge and the quarterback go on a boot action. And I'll show you what that's going here. So if we're going to the right side, so this is Packer right. So I would call it Packer right. Packer right. F wedge. Okay, so the fullback wedge. And I'm going to have the quarterback open up, reverse pivot, and have the fullback take a little step, deep pocket, cover it, and hit the pocket of the wedge, whether that be behind in the center butt or somewhere in that gap. Find that pocket and just run with it. Be patient. Run with it. Maybe there's going to be an opening. This could hit big, but mainly it's anywhere from 1, 2, 3 yards at a pop, hopefully. Depends on how good your O-line is pushing this. And what I did, I would have the back end tight end. Either I'm going to have him cut a D end or whatever's there, just so he doesn't make that play, or I'm going to have him drag across the formation here. What I would have my strong side tight end do, have him act like he's coming in for a block, up, and then run a corner route. This receiver out here, let me get rid of this real quick. This receiver out here, I want him to run an automatic outside release go route, or what you would call a fade route maybe. Let's say there's a corner. I'm going to have him automatically outside release to that corner because I want him to get that corner's eyes on him and follow him. That's what I'm hoping he's doing. If he's in man-to-man, I'm hoping that corner's going to follow that receiver. And if that corner follows that receiver, I'm assuming there's going to be a linebacker on the tight end or there's going to be a safety. Okay. And I'm hoping that if, again, it's man-to-man, he's taking that backer with him. This guy here, the tailback, he's going to come in. He's going to act like he's going to block. And if it was an actual wedge play, he probably would block. He's going to come out and run a little flat. Quarterback's going to reverse pivot, either hand the ball off or he's going to keep it. And even if he hands the ball off, depending on what I call, whether it's going to be wedge or wedge pass, depending on what I call it, he's going to run his boot. And it's important that you get the tailback, the quarterback, the fullback to carry out their fakes. Okay, a good fake, one good fake equals 2 good blocks. Okay, they cannot be lazy. I don't care if they know they're getting the ball or not. They cannot be lazy. Same thing with the receiver. I got to have him going. He's got to go, even if he doesn't know he's getting the ball or not. It's all about discipline. Okay? And so either I'm going to call wedge or I'm going to call wedge pass. And basically, if you can see this, my wedge pass really is basically just a flood concept. Okay, play action flood concept. And the quarterback, he's looking, I would probably say my number 1 receiver that I'm looking at would be the tight end. In my personal, that's what I want him to look at first, the tight end. Number 2 will be that receiver. 3 will be that tailback. And depending on if you want that backside tight end to go on a route or stay, give me number 4. If I was running it, I'd probably have him stay, just because I want that extra protection on the backside. And the quarterback now, if his guys are covered, he's going to run. Hopefully, if these receivers are out there and they've got man-to-man coverage and they're being covered and their defenders are following them, there's going to be some open grass there. Especially if we're getting the defense to think, oh crap, here's that wedge coming again. Okay, we need to crash down to stop that wedge. If they're doing that, there's nobody covering that quarterback. Especially if we've run the wedge like 4 or 5 times already. And so he's going to come out, and I like to call this an RPO. I know it's not technically what you spread guys would call an RPO, but he has the option to run it, especially if he's a quick guy. And so this is just one example, one tiny example. There's only 2 plays in this, and I made it as simple as I possibly could, especially for lower levels like JVs and maybe freshmen. This is just something I would add to a spread offense, just as, okay, so we got a little bit of momentum. We need to change something up so that the defense doesn't get caught on to what we're doing in the spread. We're going to throw this out there, run it at a high pace. So it's only 2 plays. They should be able to understand, okay, this is all I'm doing, so let's go. Let's go fast. I want to go fast. And hopefully you can pop one. The wedge itself, the wedge play, the run play, you're most likely you're not going to pop it for deep cover or for a big run. You're going to get 2, 3, maybe 4 yards at a pop if you run it well. Sometimes you'll get stuffed. If they start stuffing it, that's when you start thinking about running that pass. When they're gunning for that wedge, run that pass play. Okay. So if I missed anything, or you wanted me to cover something else, or let's say maybe you agree with me, maybe you disagree with me, leave some comments below. We're always willing to hear about other people's experiences. I always want to hear about other people's opinions. Let's try to keep everything civil, okay? I'm just out here trying to learn as much as I possibly can. I'm out here trying to reach as many coaches as I possibly can to help everybody else. And so please comment, please follow me on Twitter, follow my blog, and remember to stay obsessed.